گیا یہیں پر یہ. اعوذ باللہ من الشیطان الرجیم. بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم. تبارك الذي نزل الفرقان على عبده ليكون للعالمين نذيرا. الذي له ملك السماوات والأرض ولم يتخذ ولدا ولم يكن له شريك في الملك وخلق كل شيء فقدره تقديرا. واتخذوا من دونه آلهة لا يخلقون شيئا وهم يخلقون ولا يملكون لأنفسهم ضرا ولا نفعا ولا يملكون موتا ولا حياة ولا نشورا. وقال الذين كفروا إن هذا إلا إفك افتراه وأعانه عليه قوم آخرون فقد جاءوا ظلما وزورا وقالوا أساطير الأولين اكتتبها فهي تملى عليه بكرة وأصيلا. قل أنزله الذي يعلم السر في السماوات والأرض إنه كان غفورا رحيما. وقالوا ما لهذا الرسول يأكل الطعام ويمشي في الأسواق لولا أنزل إليه ملك فيكون معه نذيرا أو يلقى إليه كنز أو تكون له جنة يأكل منها. وقال الظالمون إن تتبعون إلا رجلا مسحورا. انظر كيف ضربوا لك الأمثال فضلوا فلا يستطيعون سبيلا. تبارك الذي إن شاء جعل لك خيرا من ذلك جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار ويجعل لك قصورا. صدق الله العلي العظيم.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. القارية ما القارية وما أدراك ما القارية يوم يكون الناس كالفراش المبثوث وتكون الجبال كالعهن المنفوش فأما من ثقلت موازينه فهو في عيشة راضية وأما من ثقلت موازينه فأمه هاوية وما أدراك ما هي نار هامية. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ألهاكم التكاثر حتى زرتم المقابر كلا سوف تعلمون ثم كلا سوف تعلمون كلا لو تعلمون علم اليقين لترون الجحيم ثم لترونها عين اليقين ثم لتسألن يومئذ عن النعيم. صدق الله العلي العظيم.
پر محمد و آل محمد صلوات. اما فضا بتا دے مجھ کو پتھر کیوں آ رہے ہیں. اما فضا بتا دے مجھ کو پتھر کیوں آ رہے ہیں. کیسا ہے یہ چراغ دل ڈوبے جا رہے ہیں. کیا شام آ گیا ہے. اما فضا بتا دے مجھ کو پتھر کیوں آ رہے ہیں. اما فضا بتا دے مجھ کو پتھر کیوں آ رہے ہیں. ہونے لگی اذانیں کیسے سروں کو ڈانپے. بازو بندھے ہوئے ہیں خون رو رہی ہے آنکھیں. آنکھوں کے خون سے رستے خون میں نہا رہے ہیں. کیا شام آ گیا ہے. اما فضا بتا دے مجھ کو پتھر کیوں آ رہے ہیں. اما فضا بتا دے مجھ کو پتھر کیوں آ رہے ہیں. نیزے پہ جتنے سر ہیں ایک سر ہے ان میں سا. آنکھیں ہیں بندے اس کی اور خاک پر ہے گرتا. عباس کا یہ سر ہے تیور بتا رہے ہیں. کیا شام آ گیا ہے. اما فضا بتا دے مجھ کو پتھر کیوں آ رہے ہیں. اما فضا بتا دے مجھ کو پتھر کیوں آ رہے ہیں. اتنا چلے ہے پیدل کانٹوں پہ سارے قیدی. تک جاتی چلتے چلتے چلتی اگر زمین بھی. پیروں کے آبلے بھی آنسو بہا رہے ہیں. کیا شام آ گیا ہے. اما فضا بتا دے مجھ کو پتھر کیوں آ رہے ہیں. اما فضا بتا دے مجھ کو پتھر کیوں آ رہے ہیں. ماؤں کے گودیوں سے لپٹے ہوئے ہیں بچے. ہے ہاتھ رسیوں میں ماؤں کیسی جکرے. بچے جو گر رہے ہیں وہ مرتے جا رہے ہیں. کیا شام آ گیا ہے. اما فضا بتا دے مجھ کو پتھر کیوں آ رہے ہیں. اما فضا بتا دے مجھ کو پتھر کیوں آ رہے ہیں. کیسا ہے یہ چراغ دل ڈوبے جا رہے ہیں. کیا شام آ گیا ہے. اما فضا بتا دے مجھ کو پتھر کیوں آ رہے ہیں. پر محمد آل محمد صلوات.
پر محمد وآل محمد صلوات. میرے غازی کہاں ہو، میرے غازی کہاں ہو، اے میرے باوفا ہے بہن بیردا، میرے غازی کہاں ہو، تیری جاگیر سے چل پڑا قافلہ، میرے غازی کہاں ہو، تجھ کو دیکھے بنا چین آتا نہیں، نوک نیزہ پہ سر تیرا ملتا نہیں، میں زیارت کروں کس طرح یہ بتا، میرے غازی کہاں ہو، تیری جاگیر سے چل پڑا قافلہ، میرے غازی کہاں ہو، لاج رکھ لو بہن کی برادر میرے، خاک مقتل میرے سر کا پردہ بنے، حکم دے دو ذرا منتظر ہے ہوا، میرے غازی کہاں ہو، تیری جاگیر سے چل پڑا قافلہ، میرے غازی کہاں ہو، تیرے بازو مجھے راستے میں ملے، میں نے چادر سمجھ کر وہ سر پر رکھے، بازوؤں سے تیرا پوچھتی ہوں بتا، میرے غازی کہاں ہو، تیری جاگیر سے چل پڑا قافلہ، میرے غازی کہاں ہو، دیکھ کر بہن کو دشت میں ننگے سر، کیا حیا گئی چھپ گئے ہو کدھر، خود چلی آؤں گی تم بتا دو ذرا، میرے غازی کہاں ہو، تیری جاگیر سے چل پڑا قافلہ، میرے غازی کہاں ہو، میں نے بچپن میں لوری سنائی تجھے، میں نے چلنا سکھایا تھا بھائی تجھے، راہ پر خار پر مجھ کو چلنا سکھا، میرے غازی کہاں ہو، میرے غازی کہاں ہو، اے میرے باوفا ہے بہن بیردا، میرے غازی کہاں ہو. پر محمد وآل محمد صلوات.
پر محمد والے محمد صلوات. آج بھی زینب کی آتی ہے صدا بھائی حسین. آج بھی زینب کی آتی ہے صدا بھائی حسین. تیرا چہرہ تیری آنکھیں بھول کب پائی حسین. تیرا چہرہ تیری آنکھیں بھول کب پائی حسین. آج بھی زینب کی آتی ہے صدا بھائی حسین. چلتے ناقے سے گرایا خود کو جلتی ریت پر. چلتے ناقے سے گرایا خود کو جلتی ریت پر. گھٹنیوں کے بل میں تیری لاش تک آئی حسین. گھٹنیوں کے بل میں تیری لاش تک آئی حسین. بس میں گھبرائی تھی خنجر تجھے پہ چلتا دیکھ کر. بس میں گھبرائی تھی خنجر تجھے پہ چلتا دیکھ کر. پھر کسی مشکل میں گر کر میں نہ گھبرائی حسین. پھر کسی مشکل میں گر کر میں نہ گھبرائی حسین. کون تھا جو مرنے والوں میں نہیں تھا خوبرو. کون تھا جو مرنے والوں میں نہیں تھا خوبرو. بھولنے بیٹھی تو کس کس کی نہ یاد آئی حسین. بھولنے بیٹھی تو کس کس کی نہ یاد آئی حسین. ہاتھ میں کوزے لیے سب آسماں تکتے رہے. ہاتھ میں کوزے لیے سب آسماں تکتے رہے. ابر نے ایک بوند پانی की न बरसाई हुसैन। अब्र ने एक बूंद पानी की न बरसाई हुसैन। आज भी ज़ैनब की आती है सदा भाई हुसैन। पर मोहम्मद वाले मोहम्मद सल्लल्लाहु।
And I'd like to request Syed Imran to please come and deliver the lecture. And please recite a loud salawat and come forward as well. Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد والثناء لله رب العالمين باره الخلائق أجمعين الذي لا يبلغ مدحته القائلون ولا يحصي نعماءه العادون ولا يؤدي حقه المجتهدون. ثم الصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وآله الطاهرين. اللهم صل على محمد. أما بعد، فقد قال الله تعالى في كتابه المجيد وقوله الحق: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قولوا للناس حسنا. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Assalamu alaikum, dear brothers and sisters. Thank you for attending the second night of our series. It's a very small, short and brief series on the role of adab, etiquettes, or Muslim identity, or Islamic culture, whatever word you want to call it. Yesterday we gave a little bit of an introduction to it. There's some new faces today, so maybe I'll just recap very briefly. I was explaining how that, I'm leading one of the schools in Toronto, and one of the things that we really focus on is character education and building a Muslim identity. And we said that Muslim identity is not just focused on, what is wajib and what is haram, and that's the bare minimum basic stuff that everybody should do anyways. But we said that you have to really go beyond these, wajibat and muharramat, and go into this idea of an Islamic culture. Okay, there are things that Islam dictates and expects that are beyond the realm of just, raw law. Okay, just basic law. And we gave a little bit of, some examples yesterday. And inshallah, we're going to continue with those examples today. And we said that, when we want to develop a Muslim culture, a Muslim society, a Muslim community, or an Islamic civilization, there should be that civilization, you should be able to identify it with some identity markers. Okay, sometimes the identity markers could be things like salat, for example, or it could be siyam or hajj. So these are identity markers. An outsider will come and look at your society. They will say, okay, these people, they pray, they fast, or whatever. But we said beyond that, there are also other identity markers, which I was explaining, the research we have done and whatnot, that go beyond that. And these are things that have to do either with akhlaq or with adab. Akhlaq, we said, is an internal disposition. So for example, hasad, jealousy, or takabbur, arrogance and pride, these are internal dispositions that insan has, but you can manifest these internal dispositions in the external realm. And we said that external realm is sometimes, one of the words that is used for it is adab or adab, right? And the basic definition we gave for it is that adab is anything that you do in any way that gives beauty and jamal to your actions and your behavior. So example we gave is, all of you are sitting right now in front of me. Well, you can sit in this way, or you can sit, with your legs stretched out as well, and just lay down and maybe bring a pillow to listen to my speech. Well, you are also sitting down. If I ask someone like, is this haram to do? No marja will say it is haram. They'll say, no, it's not haram. No, it's not haram. Why is it haram? Why are you giving a bid'ah fatwa like that? But you're gonna say this is against the adab. Like this is not the beautiful way of sitting down. There's a beauty and an etiquette. So we gave some examples yesterday, and we said one of the principles that we can implement and utilize when it comes to identifying what is a good adab is making sure that we don't put that when you are in a relationship with another human, you don't put them above on a pedestal, neither do you bring them down so much that you completely remove their nobility and dignity. So we gave some examples yesterday. Inshallah, I'm going to give you more examples today. Okay. So, and we also said that the discussion of adab can happen in a couple of areas. One place adab can happen, a discussion of adab can happen is with your own self. How do you sit? How do you walk? How do you eat? All of these things, we have a hadith about these topics on what is the correct, what is the beautiful way of sitting down? What is the beautiful way of eating and drinking or sleeping? Then we said sometimes you have adab in relationships with specific people. So your adab with your parents, your adab with your wife, your adab with your children, teacher, student, for example. Then we said you have adab of with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, okay, with God, adab of salat, adab of siyam. So as you all know, this is now beyond the basic requisites of a salat. If you want to pray the basic salat, you can pray in 2 minutes. Just remove everything from it and whatnot. But when you have adab of a salat, you want to make it more beautiful, there are certain things with it. We said we don't want to talk about any of these discussions. We want to talk about the principles of adab when it comes to your relationship with humans in general, regardless of whether it's your father or mother or whoever. Just basic human relationships that you have in day-to-day life. What are some of the basic adabi principles that we can implement over there? So that was the recap for yesterday. We talked about a couple of things. Today we want to continue that, and we want to say, okay, adab, what is the source of it? How do we identify that something is actually beautiful? This is a very complicated discussion. What is beauty, and how do you define beauty? People are, philosophers have really struggled to, figure this out. But anyways, we can just give some very basic idea today, and that is that look, adab or the beauty of an act. There are a couple of ways you can figure out. One way to figure out is actually through urf, which I mentioned yesterday as well. Through urf. So, for example, in some societies, if you want to greet someone, you greet them with shaking hands, for example. If you go to some Arab or Iranian societies, for example, well, the men, they kiss each other's cheek, for example. That is also a way to greet. If you go to, I don't know, China, Japan, well, maybe they might greet by bowing down and whatever. It's some form of greeting. So that is one way of figuring out, what is the adab of your society, through the culture, through the urf, through the local customs. It's funny, like if you go to Umrah, for example, or Hajj, sometimes you will see when it's like not so crowded, you will see some of these Saudis, like the Quran is like on their faces or on their chests, and they're just laying down sleeping. Okay. And if you coming from India, Pakistan, you'll say that is the most disrespectful, that's the biggest disrespect you can do to the Quran, right? Because in your mind, you're saying this is horrible etiquettes. These are horrible adab. But in their urf, it's fine. Like they don't care. They don't have a big deal about it. I remember I was in Iran when I was still learning Farsi. I had my Farsi books. Okay, so just a couple of Farsi books or notebooks. And those chairs where you have like the metal, it's like a metal storage underneath the chairs. So you can put like your lunchbox or whatever. So I took some of these books, and I was a left-hander as well. So left-handers always get they don't get the side table. You always get we're Muslim. We always get the right-handed tables. So it's one of those ones that I write like this. So there's no space to put any of the things on it. So I put my books underneath my chair. And my teacher like freaked out. He's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "What?" He's like, why are the books underneath your chair? Like you're sitting on it, right? You're sitting on the chair. And I was like, "Bro, like what's the big deal?" But in their culture, it's in their adab, in their urf, that was very rude to do that, to put books underneath yourself and you're sitting on top of the books. Whereas coming from the West, Aslan, it was not even part of my Aslan, it didn't even click to me that could be considered disrespectful. So look, this was more of an urfi thing. So different urfs can have different adab, and that's fine. So one of the sources of figuring out that what is beautiful, what is not beautiful, is the local customs of the people. If you follow the local customs, that custom itself perceives it as beautiful, and you may perceive it as ugly even, but that's fine. Every urf can be different, and urf is urf. Sometimes it can be, most of the times it can be legitimate. But so we don't want to talk about that too much. But what we do want to talk about is that sometimes urf can be something which is problematic. Okay, so over here we need a second source that can help us identify what type of adab is good or bad, and that is ethical principles themselves. Okay, ethical principles. As I said, ethics was an internal thing, right? Sometimes ethical principles themselves can be used to determine whether a certain adab is beautiful or not, should it be maintained or not, even if it is part of an urf. Okay, so look, ethical principles can shape your perception of what should be considered beautiful. That's my point here. Ethical principles can and should shape your perception of beauty. Okay, so that's something that we want to look at over here. So for example, if you take that same example of shaking hands, greeting someone, you shake someone's hand, right? Let's say in one of the urf, the method of greeting is you meet them and you bow down and you touch their feet out of respect. Some of the cultures, they have this, okay, that you bow down and you touch their feet. So you say, mashallah, in their urf, look at how much respect they give to whoever they're meeting, that they're bowing down and they are touching the feet or whatever, they're kissing the feet. So from an urfi perspective, you may consider this to be very, very good. But from an akhlaqi perspective, if you reconcile this with the ethical principle that we discussed yesterday, which I will inshallah reiterate today and we'll talk about it, you may find this adab to actually not be beautiful. Okay, it will not be beautiful. And what was the ethical principle we talked about yesterday? We said that in a human to human relationship, you must have an equilibrium between the two parties. If in a relationship, the other party is put on a pedestal by you, or you bring them down so low that you slander and debase them and you humiliate them, now the relationship that you have with them is no longer going to be considered correct, good adab according to Islam. Maybe in an urf, maybe in some urf, that's fine. But according to the Islamic ethics, it is not going to be called a good adab. So this example of going down and let's say touching someone's feet out of respect. Remember, we gave the example that there were some Eskimos who also respected their fathers and their parents, but they showed respect by resorting to cannibalism. They would eat the bodies of their parents because after they died, because they said out of respect, we don't want to make them rot under the earth. We consume them out of respect. So the idea was still the respect. Both, they're saying respect, but the adab was completely against what ethics and Islam says. So over here it's going to be the same thing. When you subjugate this scenario to an ethical principle, you will say, wait, something doesn't seem right. Why is this person who is greeting another human, why are they debasing themselves and bringing them down so low and raising this person up to a pedestal that they are bowing down to this person, almost like bowing down? So the ethical principle should tell us that, look, you know what? This is not beautiful. This adab of greeting is not beautiful. That's how it should be perceived, even though sometimes the urf is, not there. I want to show you how. So inshallah, for the rest of the lessons, I will just quote traditions and maybe sometimes the quote of the ulama to show you how the ulama and how the Ahlul Bayt used to talk about these topics. And some of it might sound very absurd to some of you because it is so alien. Like, we are so far away from that Islamic culture that you might be like, what? Like, what? Really? Imam Ali was saying this? Yeah, let's see what he was saying. Look, he is coming back from the Battle of Siffin. There are two narrations, I'll quote both of them. He is coming back from the Battle of Siffin. So I'm going to quote from it. He says, وَأَقْبَلَ حَرْبٌ يَمْشِي مَعَهُ وَهُوَ عَلَيْهِ السَّلَامُ رَاكِبٌ. So he is returning back from a battle, and the soldiers are walking with him while he is writing. So they are walking with him, and they're crowding around him. They are crowding themselves around him. فَقَالَ لَهُ, Imam Ali says to them, "Irja', return back. Why are you crowding yourself around me? فَإِنَّ مَشِيَ مِثْلِكَ مَعَ مِثْلِي فِتْنَةٌ لِلْوَالِي وَمَضَلَّةٌ لِلْمُؤْمِنِ." You're walking the way you are walking around me, as if like you're fan, what's it called, fangirling, like, trying to be my fanboys. It's fitnatun lil wali. You're making a fitna for me. A fitna meaning test. You're creating a trial and a tribulation for me for no reason. What? This is more important. وَمَذَلَّةٌ لِلْمُؤْمِنِ. I don't care if you are my soldiers, but you need to learn how to behave. This is not the way. So look, the Imam is saying, you walking with me and trying to fanboy around me, and so this is madalla, this is humiliation. Why are you behaving? I did not ask my followers to behave this way. Why are you, debasing yourself like this? Imam Ali is saying it to his followers. Listen to this one. This is in Nahj al-Balagha. فقال عليه السلام وقد لقيه عند مسيره إلى الشام دهاقين الأنبار العراق. So he is going towards, when he is basically moving towards Sham, some of the people of a place called Ambar, okay, from Iraq, the villagers, the people of that town, what did they do? فَتَرَجَّلُوا لَهُ وَاشْتَدُّ بَيْنَ يَدَيْهِ. They saw Imam Ali, and they ran after him, and they're surrounding themselves with him, and they're creating this, pressure around him. You can imagine like a typical celebrity scene nowadays. Everyone's there taking selfies. This famous speaker is coming, and this famous, singer is coming, and this actor is coming, and this YouTube star is coming, and people, you can imagine that scene, right? Same thing. This is 14 centuries ago. The same thing was happening, right? People are coming and so on. Look at what Imam Ali says to them. مَا هَذَا الَّذِي صَنَعْتُمُوهُ. He's like, what on earth are you guys doing? Imam Ali is confused. Like, what are you guys doing? Look at what they say. They say, خُلُقٌ مِنَّا نُعَظِّمُ بِهَا أُمَرَاءَنَا. This is a type of akhlaq and adab that we show to magnify, to do ta'zeem of our governors and rulers. This is how we do it in our urf. When a governor comes, when a amir comes, we gather around them. Remember yesterday's hadith I quoted from Imam Ali, that it is the worst thing for a people to think that the umara, the amir, feels that they should be praised. Remember yesterday I quoted a hadith from Nahj al-Balagha that Imam Ali says the worst situation for a governor, for a wali, is that people begin to think that our ruler wants to be praised. And Imam Ali says, no, I don't want any of your praises. So this is similar to that. People are saying, yeah, this is how we magnify and do ta'zeem of our rulers. Because people know rulers love to be praised. And then he says, وَقَالَ عَلَيْهِ السَّلَامُ وَاللَّهِ مَا يَنْتَفِعُ بِهَذَا أُمَرَاءُكُمْ. Says, Wallahi, your umara do not have, this does not benefit them in any way. And then it's a long narration after there, like he basically tells them off, and he says, stop doing this behavior. But I'm saying, let's go to the crux of this. Why is he against this? He is not saying it is haram, by the way. I said that yesterday as well. These are not fatawa. These are not fatwas. He is not saying, this is haram, you're going to go to hell for this. He did not say that. He is giving an adab. He is saying, look, you are debasing yourself. Mazallatun lil mu'min. You are not allowed to put yourself in a position where either you raise the person on a pedestal and you are humiliating yourself, or you bring the person down so much that you are glorifying yourself. He says, no, the setting has to be equal. There has to be an equilibrium between the two partners, two individuals over here. This is how he is speaking about this. Now, this is just one example, right? Another example. So I'm just showing these examples, but you can apply these on many other scenarios and situations. But these examples are what we have in our books, because these are the type of things that would happen back in the days. Nowadays, maybe the way we glorify people is through selfies or whatever. Things have changed. But the main thing is to look at the concept over here. You know, in our ahadith books, we have an entire chapter on how to greet the mu'mineen. Okay? And part of that is also that you're allowed to kiss the believers, like on the cheek. Just like we greet, for example. That is fine. You're allowed to do that. But so look, as long as it is equal, they don't have any problem. The hadiths don't have any problem. But we have a chapter on kissing somebody's hands. Okay, when you greet them. Okay, kissing the hands of someone. So you've seen maybe some people, they try to kiss the hands of scholars and whatnot. Let's look at what the ahadith say, and let's look at what some of the ulama have said. So this is from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. Okay. Allah. He says, لا يقبل رأس أحد ولا يده إلا يد رسول الله أو من أريد به رسول الله. He says the head and the hands of no one should be kissed except the Holy Prophet or the Imams, and some other narrations will say your parents. So these. No faqih uses this narration to give a fatwa of hurma. As far as I know, they'll say makruh at the very most, but no one says it is haram. So look, even the scholars are not understanding fiqh, hurmat from this. They are understanding a type of adab from this, a culture from this, and that's how they bring it in their books. Until today, you have never heard any majah say it is haram to kiss the hands of some other person or haram to kiss the head of somebody else. You've never heard this because it's not fiqh. It is not in the realm of haram. But there is a culture in the riwayat that is still being established. One of the companion enters the room of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. He says, دخلت على أبي عبد الله عليه السلام فتناولت يده فقبلتها فقال أما إنها لا تصلح إلا لنبي أو وصي نبي. He says, I entered the house of Imam Sadiq and I kissed his hands, and Imam Sadiq immediately said, remember, this is only allowed for a wasi or a nabi, and there are some narrations, as I mentioned, for your parents. Okay, even over there, some of the ulama actually have said that we don't have any istihbab for kissing the hands of the parents even. This is not makruh, but there's no istihbab either. So even some few fuqaha have said that actually, because it's very hard to prove that. But my point here is that look, there's a culture that the narrations are promoting. A culture, not fiqh. Don't say, well, it's not haram. Yeah, it's not haram, but they're trying to tell you that look, keep an equilibrium between you and the other humans that you have in society. This is one of the masadik of it. So it is you're not supposed to look at it as a sign of beauty if someone does that. It is not beautiful. It is a type of mazallatun lil mu'min, as Amir al-Mu'minin says. Yes, the degrees of humiliation are, different. Sometimes it is a very serious type of humiliation. You're totally humiliating yourself. Sometimes it is a less form of humiliation, but it is still a mazalla. It is still a type of zillah. It's better not to do it. When you go to, I'll quote a story from Syed Bihishti. Okay, it is in Farsi, but I will just quickly translate it. Syed Bihishti comes back from a certain journey. He's coming back, and this is him quoting it. And he says, some friends had come to meet me, and some of the other scholars were also present there. And some of them wanted to kiss my hands, but I did not allow it. So one of the other scholars in the gatherings, he got up really upset at Syed Bihishti. And he said angrily, he says, you are breaking the norms. You are breaking the urf and ruining the expected relationship between scholars and people. Let them kiss your hands. So one of the colleagues, maybe student or whatever other scholar that is there, he's getting angry at Syed Bihishti. He's saying, you're breaking the customs here. The urf is that, look, people come kiss the ulama's hand. Ulama are giving it. What's their problem? Why are you going against this? Once the crowd had gone, Syed Bihishti says, I refrain from doing this because I fear I may get corrupted. He says, look, I don't want to do this because I may get corrupted. So the scholar responds, well, don't so-and-so scholars allow people to kiss their hands. This is a typical thing that even maybe after the majlis someone will say this to me. Yeah, but I saw Sistani allows, and then this person allows, and that person allows. So same thing he is saying. Someone says, Fulan scholar allows it. Are you saying they're corrupted? Typical, right? You've heard that before. So he says, don't so and so scholars allow people to kiss their hands? Have they become enslaved to the practice of getting their hands kissed? Shahid Bishti says, look, I am not going to judge them. I don't know what's their niyyah, what's going on. Again, he's not saying it's haram. I am just saying I fear for it for myself. I cannot make myself heedless to it. Later on, listen to this. Later on, Shahid Bishti says to the scholar, he says, look, I don't have anything to do with the great scholars like Sheikh Ansari and whatnot, what they did. But tell me about the people that are around us in this gathering. And you tell me, which one do you believe is not enslaved to the practice of getting their hands kissed? In that gathering of students that they are in, he's asking, tell me which one of these is not enslaved. And the scholar was not able to respond. Even he's like, yeah, lagta hai, sari in sabko maza aata hai jab ye hota hai. Because you feel a type of, arrogance in it. So Shahid Bishti responds, you cannot even name one person. So why are you trying to corrupt me and inviting me to this corruption? So he says, Shahid Bishti, we have high hopes in you. We have hopes in you. We don't believe you can get corrupted. And Shahid Bishti responds, I can also be corrupted. So look, on the one hand, people are putting him on a pedestal. You are something so great that you can never get corrupted. He is saying himself, no, I can also get corrupted. So why are you inviting me to corruption? You cannot even name one of these people over here in this crowd who is not enslaved to this practice. So you want to bring me. So then he says, O society, Shahid Bishti says, do not become corrupt for the sake of anyone else. Why do you behave in front of every other person in a way greater than you would be expected to do, even in front of an infallible? This is such a interesting quote. He says, in front of an infallible, you are expected to have the highest behavior, right? Moral conduct and a dignity and whatnot. Meaning, what he's trying to say is that in front of an infallible, you have to act in the sense that you are someone who is ready for the imam. You are dignified, you are noble, you are someone special, right? He's saying, why do you act in front of other people more special than you would in front of the imams? That's the kind of the point he's trying to say. Okay, he's like, you're not more special than you would be in front of the imams, but in front of the awam and nas, you act even higher than the imams. That's how you are behaving. Okay, so that's what he is saying. Now, there are some other examples that are very, very interesting. So we said, look, urf was one way to figure out, but we said urf can be constricted through akhlaq. One other place where this idea of putting someone on a pedestal and bringing somebody down has a relevance is in your niyyah. Okay, sometimes it can be good adab, but your niyyat is corrupt, and Islam says that's not allowed. Look at where the ulama discuss this. The most interesting example you will hear. Everybody knows what is bribery, rishwa. Okay, rishwa. It is basically haram. And I know in our societies, you cannot function without it, but actually it is haram. Rishwa is haram. Look at this. Okay, this is Ayatollah Hadi Yazdi, the founder of the Hawza of Qom. He says, "Ar-rishwa qad takunu malan min aynin aw manfa'a." Like sometimes rishwa is like a phone. I'll give you this, and you give me something else. By the way, he's talking about this in court cases. So he says, do not give the judge rishwa. So what is rishwa? Rishwa can be money or some sort of a benefit. You say to the judge, if you give a verdict for me, I will let you rent my house for free or something cheaper. وَقَدْ تَكُونُ عَمَلًا لِلْقَاضِي كَخِيَاطَةِ ثَوْبِهِ أَوْ تَعْمِيرِ دَارِهِ وَنَحْوِهِمَا. Or you say to the judge that, if you give a verdict for me, I will sew your clothes and build your house and so on. But look at this. وَقَدْ تَكُونُ قَوْلًا كَمَدِحِهِ وَالثَّنَاءِ عَلَيْهِ لِإِمَالَةِ قَلْبِهِ إِلَى نَفْسِهِ لِيَحْكُمَ لَهُ. Sometimes it can be just madh. Madh, and let's say acknowledging someone for their good acts, is not haram. It is actually not even against adab. But your niyyah, your intention over here is actually the intention of rishwa. I will big up this judge and I will praise him. I will do thana. Why? لِإِمَالَةِ قَلْبِهِ, so that his heart inclines towards me, and then when he is in the position of giving a verdict, he says, you know what? This guy was praising me and he loves me, so I will judge in his favor. Ayatollah Hadi Yazdi is saying this is a type of rishwa as well. This is a type of rishwa. And what are you really doing? You are putting someone at a pedestal at the cost of debasing yourself, but they're discussing it in rishwa, and he says this is not allowed. Look to what extent, you probably never even thought this was a discussion, but this is a discussion in the fiqh book. To that extent, the ulama are saying, look, maintain the correct adab and maintain your equilibrium between people. Doesn't matter if he's a qadi. Okay, that is not the time to do madh. Okay, that is not the time to be praising him. Anyways, the rulings of qadi is very, very interesting. There's many things that the qadi has to be careful of, so that they don't make an unbiased judgment. So that is something that we have so far looked at. Now, look at this fatwa of one of the scholars. He says, كُلُّ تَقْبِيلٍ لِيَدْ مَكْرُوh. So according to this scholar, he says kissing the hands of everyone is makruh, إِلَّا يَدْ وَالْحَاشِمِ تَقَرُّبًا لِرَسُولِ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَآلِهِ. So this one says you can kiss the hands of a Hashimi only out of taqarrub لرسول, out of the respect of the messenger. وَأَمَّا تَقْبِيلُ جَدِ الْوَالِدَيْنِ وَغَيْرِهِمَا فَإِسْتِحْبَابُهُ غَيْرُ ثَابِتْ اللَّهُ أَعْلَمُ. He says, but other than this, it is not proven. Istihbab is not proven. Okay. This one is very interesting. When I first quoted this, a lot of youth were like, wait, what do we do? But I will quote it anyways, because this is from Syed Awwal. Everyone has heard of Syed Awwal. Okay, look at, it's going to sound so absurd to you because our culture is so changed. But look at this. Everyone has heard that in the beginning times of Medina, when the people would enter the masjid, they could not recognize the Prophet. Everyone has heard this, right? That people from Yemen and these delegations would come, they would say, where is Muhammad? We have heard there's a man claiming to be a prophet. And the Muslims would sit in a halaqa, in a circle, they could not recognize who is the Prophet. And he is so with the people. But look at this. Syed Awwal, he's saying, أنه صلى الله عليه وآله كان يكره أن يقام له. Okay? فكانوا إذا قدم لا يقومون لعلمهم كراهة ذلك. He says when the Prophet used to hate and dislike that when he enters a room that people get up for him out of respect. فَقَانُوا إِذَا قَدِمَ لَا يَقُومُونَ. When the Prophet would enter, they wouldn't get up because they had knowledge that he doesn't like this. He doesn't like this behavior. Even though they are doing it out of love and respect. Prophet saying, don't do it. I don't like it when you get up for me like that. Okay? Okay, فَإِذَا فَارَقَهُمْ قَامُوا حَتَّى يَدْخُلَ مَنْزِلَهُ لَمَا يَلْزِمُهُمْ مِنْ تَعْظِيمِهِ. But when he would get up from the gathering, then they would get out with him and they would follow him till he goes to his house out of respect for his ta'zeem. Because the Sahaba, the ones that loved the Holy Prophet ﷺ, of course, if the Prophet comes in right now, we're all going to stand up, right? We stand up for even our friends and scholars. But if the Prophet tells you, I want you to understand some principle. Sometimes, let's say, we are all sinners and we have so many mistakes. If I come in and somebody gets up for me and I say, brother, don't get up for me. I don't really mean it. Okay? Get up for me, respect me. This is called in Farsi ta'aruf. Oh, it's okay, brother, it's okay. But deep down, we're like, no. Keep this. The prophets and the imams, they don't do ta'aruf. Remember this point. And I gave my Ashura Majlis in Adelaide. One of the nights I gave this same topic, that when Imam Hussein is telling his companions on Ashura, you can leave, this is not ta'aruf. Okay, he really means, like, he's not joking. He's not being sarcastic. You cannot assume, oh, he's just aise keh rahe hain. हाँ चले जाओ कोई मसला नहीं है. And then deep down he's like, don't go. No. When he says go, and not just go, he says if you go, you are bari'u dhimma. Says don't worry, you will not be held accountable. This is his words. You cannot take that as, oh, I see joke kar rahe the ya mazak kar rahe the. No, why is he joking? He's not doing a joke on Shab Ashura. Is joking about this. He is being very serious. And in fact, on Shab Ashur, nobody leaves, but he said the same thing when he is going from Makkah to Kufa. I forgot the name of the place where they stopped. Zubala. In Zubala, when he gets the news of Muslim bin Aqil is killed, he says the same thing there, and over there, Abi Mikhnaf says, many people left. Because Imam Hussein said that, I know you're only coming because you thought I will get a government and stuff, but you know what? We are not getting the government. So if you want to go, you can go. Okay, so many people left. So he was not joking. He said, you can go. I'm not making you any false promises. So same thing here. If the Prophet comes and tells me, don't get up for me, I should listen to him. We have this, in some of the people, this quote is everywhere. Don't be more Catholic than the Pope, or don't be more religious than the Prophet. There's a thing in our fiqh. If you are extremely sick in the morning, let's say in the month of Ramadan, you are extremely sick, and you know what, today I cannot fast. Like, it's going to be extremely, extremely harmful for me, and my life is in danger, whatever. Extremely harmful that I cannot fast today. And you get up in the morning and you're like, you know what, I don't care. I'm so religious, I'm so spiritual, I'm going to fast anyways. While you believed that morning that this fast is harmful for you. Okay, this is the assumption. You woke up, you said this fast is harmful for me. But you're saying, you know what, no, I'm going to do it for God. And you fast the entire day. And you survive. What is the fatwa? Anyone knows? You have to fast again. Your fast is not accepted. Okay? Why? It's actually very easy to understand. It's very easy to understand. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, for any act in ibadat, you have to do it qurbatan ilallah, right? This is a very basic, I'm telling you from usul al-fiqh. You have to do it qurbatan ilallah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, I do not want a fast from you if you believe that the fast will harm you. I don't care what will happen, not happen. I do not want a fast from you if you believe in the morning that this will harm me. And you get up and say, I know this will harm me, but I'm going to do it qurbatan ilallah. You're doing qurbatan ilallah towards something Allah did nahi of. Allah is saying, I don't want it. And you're saying, no, qurbatan ilallah. Qurbatan ilallah to what? He never give you an amr. You do qurbatan ilallah when there's an amr for something, or an istihbab for something, then you do qurbatan ilallah. Over here there's a nahi. Okay, I don't want it. Can you ever do qurbatan ilallah for a haram act? You cannot do it for a haram act. So over here you're saying don't do it, it will invalidate your fast. You're saying no, qurbatan ilallah. So look, sometimes we have to really understand some of these laws and the way they are framed, and we have to understand the wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is where sometimes this is actually arrogance that's coming in, and pride. It is not religious. This is not a sign of religiosity or, I'm so religious. No, if Allah is saying, I don't want this fast, then that is your responsibility at that time. You must do it in that way, okay? So over here, it's the same thing. If the Prophet comes and tells me, don't get up, then I should listen to him. He is saying, I don't like it. I'm going to say, no, I'm going to do it anyways out of respect. He is saying, I don't like it. So anyway, this is a quote from Shaykh Awwal. But once again, it is not haram or halal or anything, but it just shows you the culture, which is my entire discussion. It just shows you the culture, and it shows you like, wow, like we are so far from that idea that Islam is actually speaking of. We are so distant, like, because we have not done any research, and we are so distant, especially based on the last 100, 200 years, what has happened to the Islamic civilization. It's too much, okay? Now look at this. Ayatollah Muhammad Ali Araki says, وَقَدْ وَرَدَ أَنَّهُمْ عَلَيْهِمُ السَّلَامُ لَمْ يَمْتَنِعُوا مِنْ تَقْبِيلِ أَيْدِيهِمُ الشَّرِيفَةِ. That the Imams didn't stop people from kissing their hands. ولكن منعوا من تقبيل أرجلهم المطهرة معللين بأن السجدة مخصوصة بالله تعالى. But they prohibited and prevented people from kissing their feet and bowing down to their feet. Why? معللين يعني علت क्या थी? Reason क्या था? Because sajda, this form of behavior, doesn't matter what your niyat is. This form, remember, adab is form. Okay, adab is the beauty. This act is not beautiful when you do it for someone other than Allah. It is not beautiful. Okay, now look, I will show you some of the great companions of the Imams. When they saw the Imam, they would try to do this. But look what the Imam says. So one of the famous companions, Abu Hamza al-Thumali. Everyone knows about Abu Hamza, Dua Abu Hamza. This narration is very interesting because this is telling about a narration where Abu Hamza sees Imam Sadiq for the first time. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, he sees him for the first time in Kufa. He says, I was in Kufa and I heard this person starting to recite dua. And I asked around and I said, who is this man? And they told me this is Imam Sadiq. So he knew obviously who is Imam Sadiq, but he had never seen him. So he says, I was so impressed with the dua recitation of Imam Sadiq first time in Kufa. فَأَكْبَبْتُ عَلَىٰ قَدَمَيْهِ أُقَبِّلُهُمَا. I rushed towards his feet and I fell to his feet so I could kiss Imam Sadiq's feet. فَرَفَعَ رَأْسِي بِيَدِهِ وَقَالَ لَا يَا أَبَا حَمْزَةَ إِنَّمَا يَكُونُ السُّجُودُ لِلَّهِ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ. He said, no. What are you doing? Doesn't matter if you are in love with me or you have an intense amount of respect for me and you are impressed with my dua. What are you doing? He says he raised his head with his hands, Imam Sadiq. In that first, it's the first meeting Abu Hamza is having. Imam Sadiq, just be a little bit nice to him, his first time he's seeing you. But this act is scaring Imam Sadiq. He said, what are you doing? He raised his head up. Okay? This one is really interesting. Abu Dhar Al-Ghifari is narrating that Ra'aytu Salman wa Bilalan yuqbilani ila nabi. I saw one day that Salman Farsi and Bilal were approaching the Holy Prophet. إذن كب سلمان على قدم رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله. Okay, يقبلهما. Until I saw Salman going to the feet of the Holy Prophet, going down so that he could kiss his feet. فزجره النبي. He pushed him back. عن ذلك. Okay, فزجره النبي عن ذلك. ثم قال له يا سلمان لا تصنع بي ما تصنع الأعاجم بملوكها. Do not show the adab that the Ajam, that the Persians used to do with their muluk. أنا عبد من عبيد الله آكل مما يأكل العبيد وأقعد كما يقعد العبيد. I am just one of the servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I eat and drink and sit and walk like all the other servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Do not do this behavior. So look, the Prophet is saying this is the urf and the adab of who? People with their kings. And we discussed that yesterday. I think it is online yesterday's talk. If you refer to the talk yesterday, last night, I mentioned from Imam Ali alayhi salam what he was talking about. How people think that their leaders and rulers love to be praised. So they try to show that. But the Prophet and the Imam are saying, do not think that about us. We do not need your praise. And Imam Ali said, all hamd is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is something that is very, very key. So I have a couple other points here, but inshallah tomorrow we will discuss them. As I said, this was part of like an 8-10 lecture series. I summarized it, all of it. Tomorrow what I'm going to talk about a little bit, most probably, is there an exception to adab? So let's say one of the adab is that, how you speak to people. You speak nicely to them, speak in a respectful way. Are there any exceptions to this? What if somebody is, a disbeliever? Do I have to maintain adab with respect to them or no? And someone can say, no, you do not have to maintain respect. What is your evidence? Well, we have surahs of the Quran. Allah has done la'an on so many people in the Quran. So that's not adab. Allah has revealed Surah Masad. Tabbat yada Abi Lahab. What is it? This is not adab. Allah is just condemning and He's so harsh. We have ziyarat that are doing la'an. So this is not adab. So some people can use this to justify that maybe there is an exception to adab when it comes to, let's say, enemies, and so on. Inshallah, we will discuss tomorrow. Is la'an khilaf of adab, or is no problem? So inshallah, we will discuss that tomorrow. In one session, we will try to wrap it up tomorrow. But we will try to show that no, there is no exception to adab, even with the enemies, even with the disbelievers. And la'an and these things are not khilaf of adab. These are just du'as and supplications. Inshallah, we will discuss tomorrow and even some of the ayat tomorrow, inshallah. Sallallahu alaykum ya ahla bayt al-nubuwah. Sallallahu alaykum يا أهل بيت النبوة ومعدن الرسالة ومحبط الوحي وخزان العلم ومنتهى الحلم. May Allah's peace and blessings be upon you, my beloved Holy Prophet and his Ahlul Bayt, the household upon whom the angels would descend day in and day out. Sallallahu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. Sallallahu alayka ya Madloom. أيها الشهيد بكربلاء عطشانا. May Allah's peace and blessings be upon you, my beloved Imam al-Hussein, the Imam who was killed by the shores of the Euphrates, while his mouth was dry of thirst. Sallallahu ala qalbi Zaynab al-Sabur. May Allah's peace and blessings be upon Ummul Masayib, Ya Zaynab. Yesterday we talked about why Zaynab is called Ummul Masayib. But today we want to talk about one of the last few moments on the day of Ashura. فَنَظَرَ يَمِينًا وَشِمَالًا. Abi Abdullah, on the day of Ashura, when all the companions were killed, he looked towards his right, he looked towards his left, and he called out, is there anyone to help me? Is there anyone to protect the haram of Rasulullah? There's no one there to answer the call of Imam al-Hussein, and he bids farewell to the women and the children. He bids farewell to Zaynab, salamullahi alayha. Abi Abdullah goes out to the battlefield and he puts up a very good fight against the enemies, and every few moments he returns back towards the tents calling out, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. That's how Zaynab knew her brother Imam al-Hussein is still alive. Until a few moments later, Zaynab begins to hear the sounds of the horse. They saw the horse of Imam al-Hussein coming back towards the tents, muhamhiman bakiya, wailing al-dhalimat al-dhalima. They saw the horse of Imam al-Hussein without the Imam, its saddle upside down. And Zaynab, she leaves the tent, she goes towards Tallu Zaynabiyya. What does she see, brothers and sisters, from the heights of Zaynabiyya? This Ummul Masayib, she sees her brother surrounded by the enemies, those that have swords, attacking Imam al-Hussein with swords, those that had spears attacking Imam al-Hussein with spears, and those that have nothing throwing rocks at Abi Abdullah. She calls out, وَيْحَكُمْ يَا قَوْمِ أَمَا فِيكُمْ مُسْلِمٍ. Woe upon you, O people! Is there not even a single Muslim amongst you? Oh, brothers and sisters, Zainab sees a sight that we pray no sister ever has to see. وَالشِّمْرُ جَالِسٌ عَلَى صَدْرِكَ. Shim la'natullahi alayhim, sitting on the chest of Imam al-Hussein. She calls out, wa Muhammadan, wa Aliyan, wa Husayna. يوم على صدر المصطفى ويوم على وجه الثرى لا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون بأبي أنتم وأمي وأهلي ومالي وأولادي وأسرتي يا آل رسول الله والله. We ask you to please accept this qaleen ibadat of ours tonight. Ya Allah, we ask you by the right of Abi Abdullah and by the right of the tears of Zainab salamullahi alayha to please forgive all of our sins tonight. Ya Allah, we ask you to please assist all of the scholars, all of the maraj, all of those who are helping to serve the cause of Islam. We ask you to please assist them, inshallah. Ya Allah, we ask you to please assist all of the madlumeen, all of the mu'mineen that are being oppressed wherever they are. Ya Allah, we know that the solution to all of our problems is the hastening of Imam al-Mahdi. We ask you to please enable his appearance, enable us to be one of his close companions and hasten his reappearance, inshallah. Matam ya Hussein. 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 Ya Hussein.
दिल में भरे घर को लुटा आई है ज़ैनब ऐ शहर मदीना जंगल में भरे घर को लुटा आई है ज़ैनब ऐ शहर मदीना जंगल में भरे घर को लुटा आई है ज़ैनब ऐ शहर मदीना आबिद को किसी तरह बचा लाई है ज़ैनब ऐ शहर मदीना जंगल में भरे घर को लुटा आई है ज़ैनब ऐ शहर मदीना बंदवा के रसन हाथों में और खुतबे सुना के घर बार लुटा के घर बार लुटा के दीवार बड़े कुफ्र की ढाई है ज़ैनब ऐ शहर मदीना जंगल में भरे घर को लुटा आई है ज़ैनब ऐ शहर मदीना जिस शहर में शहजादियों کی طرح رہی تھی، نازوں سے پلی تھی، نازوں سے پلی تھی، سر ننگے اسی شہر میں ہو آئی ہے زینب، ہے شہر مدینہ، جنگل میں بھرے گھر کو لٹا آئی ہے زینب، ہے شہر مدینہ، جو ہجر در میں رہے ہر وقت پریشان، سوئی نہیں کیا، سوئی نہیں کیا، اس بچی کو زندہ میں سلا آئی ہے زینب، ہے شہر مدینہ، جنگل میں بھرے گھر کو لٹا آئی ہے زینب، ہے شہر مدینہ، گارستی بہت بھائی کو اس بھائی کے دم سے، دل پھٹتا ہے غم سے، دل پھٹتا ہے غم سے، ساحل پہ اکیلا اسے چھوڑ آئی ہے زینب، ہے شہر مدینہ، جنگل میں بھرے گھر کو لٹا آئی ہے زینب، ہے شہر مدینہ، 6 ماہ کے اصغر کو بھی جو لے کے بجائے، دکھ درد چھپائے، دکھ درد چھپائے، آغوش میں تربت کے سلا آئی ہے زینب، ہے شہر مدینہ، جنگل میں بھرے گھر کو لٹا آئی ہے زینب، ہے شہر مدینہ، تھے اون و محمد جو میرے آنکھوں کے تارے، ماموں کے دلارے، ماموں کے دلارے، قربان انہیں بھائی پہ کر آئی ہے زینب، ہے شہر مدینہ، جنگل میں بھرے گھر کو لٹا آئی ہے زینب، ہے شہر مدینہ، عابد کو کسی طرح بچا لائی ہے زینب، ہے شہر مدینہ، جنگل میں بھرے گھر کو لٹا آئی ہے زینب، ہے شہر مدینہ،
Yo say, 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 یاد میں زینب ہوں میرے سر پہ ردا کوئی نہیں بازار جفا سجاد میں زینب ہوں میرے سر پہ ردا کوئی نہیں بازار جفا سجاد میں زینب ہوں میرے سر پہ ردا کوئی نہیں بازار جفا مجمع ہے کوفیوں کا میرے چلنے کی جا کوئی نہیں بازار جفا سجاد میں زینب ہوں میرے سر پہ ردا کوئی نہیں بازار جفا سجاد میں زینب ہوں میرے سر پہ ردا کوئی نہیں بازار جفا سجاد میرے سر سے آباد چھنی چادر بلوے میں نبی زادی پھر وائی گئی در در مل جائے رضا مجھ کو اور میری دعا کوئی نہیں بازار جفا سجاد میں زینب ہوں میرے سر پہ رضا کوئی نہیں بازار جفا سجاد میں زینب ہوں میرے سر پہ رضا کوئی نہیں بازار جفا سجاد میرے سر سے آدھا نے چھینی چادر بلوے میں نبی زادی پھر وائی گئی در در مل جائے رضا مجھ کو اور میری دعا کوئی نہیں بازار جفا سجاد میں زینب ہوں میرے سر پہ رضا کوئی نہیں بازار جفا سجاد میں زینب ہوں میرے سر پہ رضا کوئی نہیں بازار جفا سجاد چلوں کیسے لاکھوں ہے تماشائی یاد آتا ہے رہ رہ کے عباس میرا بھائی فریاد کروں کس سے اب تیرے سوا کوئی نہیں بازار جفا سجاد میں زینب ہوں میرے سر پہ رضا کوئی نہیں بازار جفا سجاد میں زینب ہوں میرے سر پہ رضا کوئی نہیں بازار جفا سجاد چلوں کیسے لاکھوں ہے تماشائی یاد آتا ہے رہ رہ کے عباس میرا بھائی فریاد کروں کس سے اب تیرے سوا کوئی نہیں بازار جفا سجاد میں زینب ہوں میرے سر پہ رضا کوئی نہیں بازار جفا سجاد میں زینب ہوں میرے سر پہ رضا کوئی نہیں بازار جفا سجاد میرے دل کو یہ درد ستاتا ہے سر غازی کا نیزے سے جب خاک پہ آتا ہے سر میرا کھلا دیکھے غم اس سے بڑا کوئی نہیں بازار جفا سجاد میں زینب ہوں میرے سر پہ رضا کوئی نہیں بازار جفا سجاد میں زینب ہوں میرے سر پہ رضا کوئی نہیں بازار جفا سجاد میرے دل کو یہ درد ستاتا ہے سر غازی کا نیزے سے جب خاک پہ آتا ہے سر میرا کھلا دیکھے غم اس سے بڑا کوئی نہیں بازار جفا سجاد میں زینب ہوں میرے سر پہ رضا کوئی نہیں بازار جفا سجاد میں زینب ہوں میرے سر پہ رضا کوئی نہیں بازار جفا معلوم ہے ادا کو غازی کی بہن ہوں میں بے دست ہے وہ غازی پابند رسن ہوں میں یاد آئی وفا اس کی جب پاس رہا کوئی نہیں بازار جفا سجاد میں زینب ہوں میرے سر پہ رضا کوئی نہیں بازار جفا سجاد میں زینب ہوں میرے سر پہ رضا کوئی نہیں بازار جفا مجمع ہے کوفیوں کا میرے چلنے کی جا کوئی نہیں بازار جفا سجاد میں زینب ہوں میرے سر پہ رضا کوئی نہیں بازار جفا سجاد میں زینب ہوں میرے سر پہ رضا کوئی نہیں بازار جفا محمد
السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا نبي الله، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته، السلام عليك يا علي أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهرة سيدة النساء العالمين، السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى، السلام عليك يا حسين الشهيد، السلام عليك يا علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي. السلام عليك يا صاحب العصر والزمان، الأمان الأمان الأمان. السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن، السلام عليك يا إمام الإنس والجان. أجل الله تعالى فرجك وسحن الله تعالى مخرجك وظهورك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.